Soul Garden. Live, love, be.
Good morning! From my smartphone to yours, I'm casting love from the Serious Joy Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. And this is your Hump Day Wednesday, Namaste today. Good morning and namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Christopher Witecki. My modality is psychic astrology, and my personal mission is to stand in my heart and help other people stand in theirs. God bless you, Bella. Did you hear her sneeze? Today's webisode is for Wednesday, January 20th, and the Great Human Walk will take 2 baby steps today. We begin in the tested step 29 Capricorn, and we end in the 0 degree Bizarro Aquarius. So today might be strange, my friends, and it might be difficult as you wake up. So as you wake up, just keep on trucking, all right? We're going to be blasting through that final test. We kind of wake up in the final test. Some people might have had unresolved issues last night before they fell asleep, so this morning might be a little hectic. And then, somewhere in the afternoon, it kind of depends on where you live, I'll send out a text for those in my network. We will shift to the 0 degree Bizarro degree. And 0 means 0, you feel nothing. It just kind of feels empty. Now, one other kind of interesting point to 0 is it feels, usually you feel death, you feel something is over, you feel kind of like a, just kind of a, not a sadness, it's not sad, you know, you'll just have to feel out, but I always, for time and time again, would be like, something wrong with me, and then I'd be like, it's 0 degree, okay, I'm just an empath and I was feeling it. So let's move on to today's vibe. Today's vibe is cloudy with a chance of feeling bizarre. You might feel tonight or tomorrow morning a little bit like an alien in your own life. Don't feel too off. That is just what it's like to be an Aquarius. Okay, the vibration is very twinkly and things are very light, and we kind of find ourselves drifting off a lot in Aquarius. I found living in the Midwest as a child, Aquarius energy was like the dead of winter. And I used to think that I was staring out the window because of the dead of winter, but I think Aquarius just made me just like, kind of an eye zombie, right? So I think we're going to feel bizarre today. Our heart is switching gears. We're going to have that final test of our control, our decision, our leadership, and then suddenly we're just floating, all right? So it's quite a transition. Our mind is focused on what works. So I think about what works is our I think. I receive what I believe and commit to. So we're opening up to what we believe and commit to today. I feel back and forth, because the moon is in Gemini, so we're going to feel back and forth. And really, if you want to stay the course, keep your mind focused. If you want your emotions to stay focused today. And I am acting on my personal boundaries. Mars is at step 8, Scorpio. So I'm acting on my personal boundaries. And really, that's all you have to act on in the big picture are your personal boundaries. Keep your personal boundaries in check, and everything else is going to just kind of manifest, I think, in front of us. Finally, I decide as of now that I love and believe where I belong. And that's basically what our Saturn is at. So we're all deciding that we belong here. We all believe we belong here. So everyone is kind of making like some sort of head for the West right now. It feels like a head for the West. It feels like, the big dream, heading for California, heading for the gold rush. Everyone has that sort of belief and dream. You could call it hope. It's not blind hope, I'll tell you that. We've had blind hope. I think Obama ran under blind hope as far as the astrology. This is real hope. This is real spiritual hope that people actually have individually, not from something outside of them. So your joy quest, should you choose to accept it today, is to protect your feelings all day and just float on. All right? Protect your feelings. And as you know, protecting your feelings means quite simply thinking ahead for what might bug you and dodging it. You don't have to deal with everybody every day. You don't have to deal with everything every day. That's protecting your feelings. All right, let's move on to today's topic. Today's topic is a fun one. It is the age of Aquarius. It's more than just a sign. And this comes up because we are, of course, moving into the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the state of awareness, which is I belong. And I belong is a magical state of awareness, I have to say, my friend, because I belong is really the only state where God is automating something. I belong is the age of Aquarius essential, which is also known as the law of attraction. The age of Aquarius essential is that everyone on earth understand this true principle that there is a magical force on earth, and I think that's why part of the reason we're not getting this, science certainly doesn't believe this, but there really is a magical force of attraction which is based on your heart. So if your heart loves something and another person's heart loves something, they will be naturally attracted to each other. If they were wandering around the woods, they would eventually find each other. Okay? Now science says, blah, hogwash, doesn't work. But Aquarius says, yes, it does. It is the I belong consciousness, and it is basically the function of manifesting reality. It is all based on your heart and where you belong. Now, this is an interesting topic, actually one that goes all the way back to my childhood, the age of Aquarius. I was truly raised to be this Sensei to Serious Joy when I look back at my unique childhood, and one of them had to do with my father, actually. In fact, let's first pose the 5 o'clock question before I tell you a little Sensei story. Here's the 5 o'clock question. Do you believe you have a role in the age of Aquarius? Do you believe you have a role in the age of Aquarius? Now, I think that's a personal question that you either feel in your heart or you don't, because who the heck knows, right? Right? And the follow-up, do you believe in Atlantis, the ancient civilization of Atlantis? Now, I'll answer these questions. Yes, of course I believe I have a role in the age of Aquarius. I have Jupiter in Aquarius, so right there, all my fortune in life is proponent of Aquarius vibration, which is all my fortune is when I invest in the law of attraction, when I invest in what I'm investing in. So I'm going for it, but I haven't seen the fortune. Well, I am starting to see fortune. Sorry, God. I'm very grateful. Very grateful. But you know what I'm talking about. So the second question, do I believe in Atlantis? Well, yes, I do. And I think the two are actually kind of connected. I think the age of Aquarius and Atlantis are connected. And that brings me to a little Sensei story time. I need a little theme song here. Story time, Sensei, story time. That's my little song in my head. So growing up, I had a very bizarre childhood in the sense that my father and my mother both very esoteric people, meditated, were very much into all the new stuff coming out, very avid readers of all the modern stuff coming out as far as spirituality, psychic awareness, Edgar Cayce, Jane Roberts and the Seth's stuff, really all that. And they openly talked about and discussed it with me. And my father had told me growing up that he had been a very big figure in Atlantis. And he'd been telling me stories of it. Now, what do you know? Who knows? I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie about the father that told tall tales. I mean, you don't know if your father is telling you these kinds of things, but it certainly did put a big question mark in my mind. And I really was intrigued by this ancient civilization of Atlantis. And of course, growing up, my father told me lots of things about Atlantis. He'd studied a lot and remembered a lot himself in his own meditations. And he had told me that he'd learned a lot from Edgar Cayce. So if you guys want to understand Atlantis, seems like Edgar Cayce channeled some really good stuff on that. And it seems that there's stuff to be announced in our lifetime about it. The point of Atlantis is that I don't know if it was actually called Atlantis. I think it was called something else, which is one of the reasons why we're not able to put all these things together. I think that the Greeks called it Atlantis, but I think there was a name of this ancient civilization, and it was here much longer than we think. I think it was maybe 26,000 years ago that it was here, not 5,000 as is predicted or so. That's just because our human fossil record. But a lot of the interesting things that I know were there is that we were at the full frequency at that time. We were at full frequency in the sense that human beings were light beings. This is what I understand. They were light beings that lived 900 years. In other words, their body took form, but their light literally emanated from us. In fact, it's my understanding that a lot of the talk of the angels is actually figures of Atlantis. These are stories of figures of Atlantis. I know Lucifer in particular is an Atlantean figure that was working in the government of Atlantis, and the government of Atlantis was opposed to the priestesses of Atlantis. So it was, I think, the apex of the matriarch, patriarch where a patriarch took over. The fall of Atlantis was the patriarch actually winning, I think. And I believe that we ended up destroying a planet which is now the asteroid belt. Now, I know that's all far-fetched, but I think that's what happened. But nonetheless, what's really interesting that I want to share with you about all this is I just want to open all this up, because the idea of the age of Aquarius is that we move to full spectrum again, which means that human beings have all their chakras light up, they have all their abilities light up, and we have a lot of magical abilities. I don't think it's an accident that we're obsessed with Harry Potter and witches and werewolves and all these things. It's because that we're only in the world of creation. We have limited our power because we believe it's limited. End of story. And if the collective conscious believes it's limited, then it is collectively limited. The more people that believe, the more the power opens up. That's the way the Matrix was built. But the interesting part of this story, which is really interesting, is fast forward, I don't know, I think I was in my late 20s in Los Angeles, and something faded. I went and got a numerology reading from this woman in Los Angeles, and I went there and opened the door. She sat down in front of me, and she looked up, and she was like, "Oh!" I was like, what? You know what I mean? What? And she's like, your father. And I was like, what about my dad? You know, like, because my dad comes up a lot in readings, like a lot. She's like, your father was in Atlantis. He killed my lover, and I will never forgive him. And she was so intent. I was like, holy shit, I think Dad was right. Like, oh my God, he really was a bad guy in Atlantis. And so at that point, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. What can we do for you? You know, like, it was a weird moment. But then she was very frank. She was very troubled. And the way we looked at it was that she was holding on to that grief for so long. My arrival there helped her get over it. And she was super psychic, talked to aliens, totally on another planet. Like, you know, I think you have to be psychic to be able to know if a person like that's insane or not. She was very sane. She needs so many details about it. And they all matched up with my father's stories. So that just goes to show you the world is always conceiving to your insanity, always conspiring to your insanity for you. So I have to say to you, do you have a role in the age of Aquarius? Well, this is definitely a question to ask. In a lot of my personal readings, I can tell, I believe, well, I know I can. I see things in the chart, and then past life memory comes up. A lot of my clients had past life Atlantis experience. They were here during that time, and they have returned to help with the transition. It's my opinion that this lifetime is the transition to the age of Aquarius, but I don't believe we will technically be in the age of Aquarius in our lifetime. That's because it takes a long time for Earth to actually follow through. I mean, we still have people in the African Gedi that are dying of bubonic plague and don't have clean water. So that we should have been over that 300, 400 years ago, people suffering at that level. So it's humans that hold back the age of Aquarius. It's not the vibrational shift. In my understanding, in the Mayan shift calendar in December of 2011, when the Galactic Center moved to step 27 of Sagittarius, 27 is I feel it, I sense it, I go. So that basically was the go point, and we are now going and moving toward that higher frequency. All right, let's wrap up this little day with our Zenen. And welcome to the Zenen. First, let's take 3 breaths. Okay. And I'm going to give you an affirmation today for your 0-degree transition, one that will help you through the transition. I protect my feelings today, and I allow for all else. And so it is. I protect my feelings today, and I allow for all else. So in essence, whenever we're in transition, you really just want to protect your own feelings on the airplane, your own feelings on the bus, your own feelings on the walk, and everything else, just let go and let it flow. That will really get you through the transition of the word vibration. Let's take a look at the planets. So as you can see here, 0 means 0. We're at the top of the hour in this particular chart. We are at 0 degrees Aquarius. 0 is I protect. It is the only degree that is ruled by Scorpio purely. So we see the 0 at 0, we see it at 10, we see it at 20, and then we never see 0 again. Very magical number there. Basically a vortex, I find. So we go through a vortex, we shift, and we go up. From this point on, we are going through the age of Aquarius, and what's going to happen is that Aquarius energy is where we belong. So basically, we systematically, through this transit, go, does my heart belong here? Does my feelings belong here? Do my beliefs belong here? Does this belong here? Does this belong here? Does this, and just through the entire thing, which is basically, I think, what Aquariuses are doing inside their head. So today, expected to be very spaced out by the second part of the day. Now, adding to the space is the moon. The moon is in Gemini, so we're going back and forth with our feelings, and I must say that your mind, which is still retrograde, can push your feelings the wrong way. So be conscious of what you think if you want to know how you want to feel. If you want to control how you feel, be conscious of how you think. God, even I can't say it. But notice also we have a tug of war going on here. The moon is opposing Saturn, and so there might be this back and forth of going back and forth with theory, going back and forth figuring things out with what you believe. That's all okay, because really we're coming to a decision today about what we finally believe. Step 26, Venus here in Sag. So we're coming to a decision about what our high belief is, what we think it will be. Now what's cool, which you may not have noticed, is we just moved into Aquarius, right? Just now. Aquarius is step 4, I belong energy. Jupiter, which has been at step 23, Virgo, this whole time, today moves to step 22, an Aquarius vibration. 2 plus 2 makes 4. So now when it comes to us manifesting our reality, we will be now shifting our reality according to where we belong, right here. Okay? So it is all, you're going to find that this is a huge reorganization, and a lot of people may go through a lot of reorganization of life. Like you might want to reorganize the closets, you might want to reorganize your garage right now. Everyone's wanting to put things where they belong and put them away kind of in the cupboards kind of thing. And we don't really know, we may find out that there's things left that we're left with. That's part of it as well. The last thing I'll point out here is Mars. Mars is actually at step 9. I think I falsely... Did I say I'm acting? No, I said it correct in the open. We are now acting on our personal boundaries. Now, the important thing here is that a lot of surprising doors may slam in the next 36 hours because we're acting on our personal boundaries. That means people are going through, they're getting the divorce, they're cutting the cords, they're saying it, they're saying what they weren't going to say. They have to. It's time to enforce your boundaries. You can't figure out where you belong unless you are certain of where you don't belong. And so there's going to be a lot of door shutting, a lot of probably real ugly politics, I think, in America here for the next few days. And it's all okay. So act on and enforce your boundaries. This is the worst time to let somebody get away with the old thing. You let somebody get away with the old thing right now? Not good. You're really in a vulnerable position. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Yep, that's it. I always want to go on and on, but there's always tomorrow. Well, friends, thank you so much for taking part in our little show here today. I'll be back in 24 hours with more. Remember to live in your heart, and remember I love you, and live, love, be.
SoulGarden.tv.
Mr. Bigelow.